Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of First Canada Live. I'm your host, Karthik Vanshika, and we are back for another great show. If you're wondering what the show is about, we talk about robots, community initiative stories, and all the good things that are happening out there in the world of First Canada. And trust me, there is a lot of good stuff happening. So let's just get things started. But to begin, as Canadians, it is important to recognize the land of which we are a part. As we gather for this meeting, physically dispersed and virtually constructed, let us take a moment to reflect upon the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we celebrate today. We acknowledge the elders and youth, past, present, and emerging, of all the land on which we work and live. We honor the ancestral spirits with gratitude and respect. We acknowledge this land out of respect for the Indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America. The Indigenous people have been gifted the role of caretakers of this land from before the arrival of settler peoples until today. But most importantly, we remember the history of these lands and people that have been tainted by poor treatment and a lack of friendship with the First Nations who called Canada home long before it was given this name. This history is something that everyone is affected by. We are all treaty people in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect upon, and each of us is affected by this history in different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, it does not define our future. All right, to get us started today, I'd like to welcome our co-host. She was here a few weeks ago. She is back again. She's a student on FRC Team 2056 OP Robotics and a member of the First Canada Youth Council. Say hello to Vanshika. How's it going?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you doing, Karthik?
I am doing really good. I'm excited. Because we are less than 2 weeks away from the Humber College District event, and it's robot season. It really is. And to help us with that, we got First Canada Vice President Arti, Javeri, and First Canada President Dave Ellis will be on later on in the show talking about everything that's going on with events and to give us some updates. And then Vanshika, you and I will have a chance to ask them some questions to see how things are going. But I want to know, how is your season going?
It's going really well, It's so much fun being back in person. Oh my gosh, being online for a whole year, being back in person just makes you feel so grateful for every single moment when you're able to build a robot and just see it work and just amazing.
And I'm sure reconnecting with your robot friends who you might not have seen as much of because they might not have been in your same class or cohort with you, right?
Exactly. Just especially meeting new people on the team that I haven't ever seen before, making new connections and new friends, that's pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it's all coming back this rush. So events are going to be really good, and there's a lot of fun stuff happening. And speaking of fun stuff, today on today's show, we have some amazing guests. We got representatives from two of our college and university partners here at First Canada, Durham College and the University of Windsor. So that'll be really cool. You and I are going to be talking a little bit about what's been going on with the game. There was week 0 this past weekend, so we saw some robots debuted, and we got a really cool reveal video from Israel. Have you seen this yet, Vanshika?
I have not. This is my first time seeing it. I'm so excited.
I like it when we can surprise you with stuff on the show because I think it'll be good. Because I have seen it, and I want to see your reaction to it. It's going to be really good. But and just a reminder, everyone, if you have questions for us in the chat, especially during Dave and Artie's segment, I think there's going to be a lot of information there. Drop them the questions into the Twitch chat. We'll do our best to answer them, and if we can't answer them, we'll figure something out. We'll get you an answer as soon as possible. But I think most importantly, just remember, this always remember your grace of professionalism when you're interacting in chat, and it's going to be a good time. But Vanshika, I think it's time for our Youth Council wellness moment, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, my wellness moment for this week is taking breaks. I want to talk about this because this is something I've recently started to do, and I find it so effective. When I'm doing something and I'm just burnt out and I'm I can't approach this problem anymore, I just take a break. I'm you know what? I need to step away for 10 to 15 minutes, do something I want to, something I like, maybe listen to music, watch a Netflix show or something like that, and then come back with a fresh mind and approach the problem. And I feel that's so helpful for everybody, especially high school students, and seniors right now with university applications, scholarships or whatever, taking a break. I know that personally, I was I don't need to take a break. I'm not going to get more time to do work, but taking a break just makes you even more productive,
It absolutely does. It's a long-term sort of thing. You think that it's like, oh, I just need to plow through. I just need to plow through, but you don't realize like your efficiency drops the longer
Mhm.
between breaks. And so you may be working longer, but since your efficiency is lower, your amount of productivity, I swear I have to come at everything like a mathematician, but your productivity isn't going to be as high.
Mhm.
But if you take that break and then you come back at a more efficient level, and it's like, and I think especially working on robots, it's really important because like, okay, when I'm doing like, when I was in school, I'm doing like my math homework or whatever. If I don't take a break
Mhm.
for a while, my efficiency goes down, but like maybe my lines get messy. Maybe I mess up some questions. Working on robots, there's a safety issue too. And
Mhm.
you need to take breaks to make sure that you're alert. And for everyone out there, when you're working on equipment, you have to take breaks periodically. And
Mhm.
I used to work at General Motors, and like they had strict rules about this. You only get so much time on a piece of equipment before you had to take a break because it
Mhm.
ensures your safety. So that's another piece of it too.
Yeah, especially like with robots, like I'm glad you brought it up because like sometimes when you take a break, like you get to come back and like sometimes you have like an even better idea. You're like,
Mhm.
you know what? I got to like dwell on this for a moment. I got to think about it, let like, just like digest what I like did. And then you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, like we can just do this instead, which is like more efficient or more effective.
And it's a really good wellness moment, Vanshika, and a reminder because I think there's some of us have this mentality of, oh, I just need to plow through. I just need to finish
Mhm.
this. And I am one of those people sometimes. I'm just like, let's just nail it. I just want to be done with it, finish it. But sometimes that
Mhm.
break is really good. So thank you for that wellness moment. And I think now we can move into our news updates. First up, First Canada Live, we're here every Tuesday night, but I'm starting the week after the Humber event every Tuesday night. We'll be coming on for 7 o'clock for a normal show, but we'll be doing some, story times and the such, but we'll also be handing out the awards from the events because as Artie and Dave are going to talk about, all our
Mhm.
judging this year is happening remote in Ontario. And that means, and the judging is combined for the day one teams and the day two teams. So we couldn't hand out the awards in person because not everyone would be there. So we're going to be
Mhm.
handing them out remote. And this means Dean's List semifinalists, chairman's engineering inspiration. All the awards are going to be handed out live on the show. So you're absolutely going to want to tune in.
Mhm.
And also, we're going to be doing previews and recaps of events too. So we're going to be bringing out some of our MCs and game announcers to talk. We'll be showing some like cool matches from the event. Say like, hey, did you see this? And we'll digest them, dissect them, not digest them. We're not eating them, and it's breaking down the action. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you're tuning in every Tuesday for that. Teams out there, if you're looking for a third event, I know a lot of teams are like, oh, like we want to play more this season. There are some spots still available in Windsor and North Bay and maybe even Humber. So if you are interested, send an email to john.hubbins@firstroboticscanada.org and he'll get you all set up. And still some scholarship applications are open. Vanshika, the First Canada Indigenous Scholarship Award deadline is March 31st. So
Mhm.
if you are an Indigenous student graduating this year, you could want to apply, or if you know someone, send it away to them. Going to get more people to apply. Spread the word. I know you applied for a bunch of scholarships, right, Vanshika?
Mhm. I have been working nonstop, Karthik.
Yeah. Well, your Waterloo form that was due, right? AIF,
Mhm.
and it's all
Yep,
done, all submitted.
all
So that's like
done.
a relief, right, to
Oh my
get that out of
gosh,
the
it
way.
is. Like it feels like there's like this weight off my shoulder. Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah,
so much less stressful.
it's a lot,
Mhm.
that high school students have to go through because you're trying to fight to keep your marks up. You're focused on
Mhm.
your extracurriculars. If you're watching this show, you're on a first team, so you're working on building a robot. You're
Mhm.
trying to keep up with your family, your friends, and you're also doing these applications, not just for schools, but for scholarships. It's a lot. It's
Mhm.
impressive what you all do. It is really, really cool.
Honestly, I feel like just having that year online, I mentally still feel like I'm in grade 10 because like grade 10 was like the last year I was like in school. So like
Right,
I'm
right,
like,
right.
doesn't even feel like I'm gonna go into university now.
Well, you're going to be a grade 10 going into university in the fall, Vanshika.
Hmm.
So, and
Hmm.
grade 10 mechatronics students somewhere out there, I guess.
Hmm.
It'll be cool. Uh, Folks out there, you are working on your robots right now, and you're like, oh, I cannot figure out how to wire this stupid VRM. How am I going to figure this out? Well, if you join the FRC Ontario Team Slack, you can just post a question right in there, and a variety of mentors and students from teams all across the province will be jumping in to help you. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening in that Slack group. So I really recommend that folks join that Slack channel, especially when you're troubleshooting your robot. You can look stuff up online, but it's just not the same as being able to ask not just one person, but a group of people who've been through it before. So, and like a lot of our volunteers, like CSAs and FTAs are in that group. So lots of people that can help you out. And if you want more individualized help, the Team 1114, Hall of Fame Team 1114 online help desk in conjunction with First Canada is still available. So go to frchelpdesk.ca to ask questions there. And I think they have an FAQ there as well with previously asked questions. And over the next few weeks, we've got a little bit of room on the show. We would love to have some Canadian teams come on to show us their robots. We're going to be showing a robot reveal video from Israel today. But teams, if you've got robot reveal videos, send them in. We're going to drop a link in chat with the Google form so you could submit that. Or if you want to bring your team on to chat for maybe a longer segment, we can try and fit you in as well. But those robot reveal videos, like those are my favorite things to watch. And as you'll see today, it's just like, I miss seeing robots and it's really exciting. I'm like, we've talked about this before, Vanshika. This game is so much fun. So I can't wait to see the various solutions that teams have and all that. So we got a little bit of time here, Vanshika, but with events coming up, a lot of people haven't been to events before and they haven't truly experienced the first culture. And one big piece of the first culture is gracious professionalism. And we talk about it. You can read what gracious professionalism is. It's acting in a way that's befitting. It's you're being professional and working your hardest, but you're also being gracious. You're not being bragging. You're being competitive in an ethical way. You're being empathetic. All those sorts of good things. But I guess I got a question for you. Is there like a particular story of gracious professionalism that you think of when you think of the term gracious professionalism?
For me, it's like when I think of gracious professionalism, I think of like a good leader on a team. Like I think of somebody who like respects other people's values while also just making sure that everybody feels like included. So I feel like my story would be like, obviously, like when I was in grade 10, it was like all the senior members, like they graduated. So like I didn't have like some of the knowledge that I wish I knew. So like just reaching out to mentors and being like, hey, like how do I run this workshop? And then them just like sitting there, just going through it with me, providing me like the slideshows that they did in previous years. I thought it was like really effective because then I get to like, get like a little like sliver of what they did in their previous years. And like, I don't know. I know it's like a really general story, but it's like, that was like really meaningful to me because like I got to use that and then, provide a high quality workshop for the students to learn from while I was learning stuff on my own.
Yeah, I think for me, I think about these moments where teams do the right thing always, even if it might hurt their team. And I think of times where a team will go to the question box to the ref and be like, hey, you scored that match wrong. Our team didn't get enough points. And the ref will be like, sorry, I didn't see it. But then like 5 minutes later, the other team will come in and be like, yeah, you actually didn't give them enough points. Like they didn't need, like that doesn't, there's sportsmanship in a lot of realms, but stuff like that is like next level. You're not going to see like a player on the Jays just be like, oh yeah, that was totally a strike. Give it to them or whatever. But people are just really kind of that way. And it's like, it's eye-opening because it's like, man, imagine if our society was like that in general, if people were doing the right thing. And I think it's all about ethical competition where it's about wanting to rise above your opponent as opposed to dragging them down or benefiting from their misfortune. And I just think it's just so cool to see it at events because people see it happen. They realize, oh, that's the way we're supposed to behave. That's what we're supposed to do. And I think I've seen it also where firsters have moved on into, like the business world and such, and they carry that with them. And it's like, that's how culture change happens, where we take the good stuff that we learn at these events and we take them forward into the world. And so that's kind of what gracious professionalism is about. And I'm really excited to see it in action in person again in a few weeks. It's going to be really, really fun. But speaking of fun, we got a lot of stuff happening on the show. We got our first guest, Durham College, coming up in just one moment. So we're going to talk to them after a word from one of our sponsors, Magna. All right, we're back, and this segment's going to be really cool as they have some fun stuff in store for us. I'd like to welcome our guests from Durham College, starting off with Bo James, who is a professor and the program coordinator of the Electrical Mechanical Engineering Technology program at Durham College in Oshawa, Ontario. Before teaching the post-secondary system, he worked as a control system designer developing custom automation solutions for high-speed machinery. So Bo is going to be like in tune with all our robotics students out there because they're working on their own high-speed machinery right now. Maybe not as cool as the custom automation stuff they've done, but they've got some pretty neat stuff that we'll be talking about. He's an alumnus of the electromechanical engineering program at Durham College and also holds a Master of Education degree specializing in digital learning technologies. Outside of the automation classroom, you'll find him traveling with his family, renovating his home, or working under the hood of his classic car. Welcome, Bo. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Karthik. Great to be here.
Glad to have you. Next up, we have Marissa Vipont, who is a student recruitment officer with Durham College. If you have any questions regarding Durham College's 140 plus full-time programs, that's a lot. Student services or the application process, she is here to help. Marissa, I don't know how you keep track of 140 programs. You've got to be a walking encyclopedia at this point.
Pretty much.
That is what we love to hear. Outside of work, she loves to travel, take dance, yoga classes, and of course, reading a good book. And finally, we have Erin Hart, who is a member of the Durham College student recruitment team. She assists students who are exploring full-time post-secondary studies, discover our programs, and aid them on the application process. So whether you're a high school student or a mature learner, the student recruitment team can help you on your journey to post-secondary studies. And I think that's what our audience is looking for today. In her spare time, she enjoys cooking, baking, exploring new coffee shops. And I hear she's a Jays fan, so she's good in my book.
I sure am.
That's how we can be friends. Erin. Absolutely. Friendship beginning right now. It's been a while since a lot of our students have set foot on the campus of Durham College. Now, First Canada's had this long-term partnership. We've been running events at Durham, I think, going all the way back to 2012. It's been really, really exciting. It's weird to me because when I think of Durham College now, I think of First. I get that, when I roll up on campus, I get this vibe and everything about the gyms and all the stuff. And it's super exciting, but I've learned so much about the school and the labs over the years. But I think our students would love to know what are some of the benefits of attending Durham College?
Sure. So I'd say the biggest thing when you're looking just in general with college education, and Bo will touch on this when he's talking specifically about the program that he teaches out of, but it's just that hands-on learning. That's the biggest thing you're going to get out of college education. It's a really great opportunity to marry both that, practical in the class, get you that theory, and then give you an opportunity to apply that. So like in Marissa's intro, we have over 140 programs. So there is a lot. It can get a little overwhelming, I know. But we've got things that range from certificate programs. So maybe 1 year exploratory, if you're not really too sure, what you want to do. A lot of times students are like, you know what, Erin, I don't know what I want to do with post-secondary, but I know I want to at least start. So you've got some of those more exploratory programs, you've got diploma programs, advanced diploma, and even 4-year honors bachelor degree programs. So you've got pretty much everything that you might be thinking you may want to get into when it comes to post-secondary studies at Durham.
Wow, that's really interesting. It's never been put into perspective for me, how many programs there can be out there for students to be a part of, because that's crazy. But that actually leads me to my next question, which is what kind of programs does Durham offer that students in First might be interested in?
So probably students who are involved with First will be looking at programs in our School of Science and Engineering Technology. So we have a wide range of programs in that academic school. These range from 2-year diploma programs, 3-year advanced diploma programs, and even a 4-year degree program in healthcare technology management. So that kind of takes biomedical engineering technology and pairs it with business. So a really unique degree option as well. Many students don't know the colleges do offer degree options, so something to look into as well. But one program that students who are involved in First probably will be really interested in would be our electromechanical engineering technology program. So Bo James, who we have here with us today, he is the program coordinator for electromechanical engineering technology.
That's great. Thanks, Marissa. And I'd definitely like to introduce you to the electromechanical program at Durham. And, when we hear the program name, it seems a little long, doesn't it? But it's all about breaking that down into a couple of pieces that, to use that word that we can digest. Electromechanical is all about taking two disciplines of engineering technology and bringing them together for the purposes of automation and robotics. So we have the electro, which is the electronic side of the control systems that we work with in the program. And then we have the mechanical side. And of course, coming along with the first robotics challenges in high school, of course, you have the mechanical apparatus, so the robot itself, but you have to apply that control system to it and to bring it alive, right? So we do the same thing in our program, and it's a 3-year advanced diploma program. We bring our students into a particular facility that we're quite fond of and very proud of, sitting behind me here, known as our Integrated Manufacturing Center. We are certified by FANUC Robotics, so our graduates, when they come out of the program, they automatically get certification for FANUC Robotics in hand, signed by Durham College and FANUC. And there are more FANUC industrial robots installed in the world than any other brand, as many of you may already know. So we're quite proud of that achievement. It's quite rare to have that, and it also brings alive the connections that we have with the first program and some of the groups that we've worked with in the past. In years past, we brought in, let's see here, it was Sinclair Sprockets, team number 1075. We actually brought them into our facility where we're standing here. We had them display to us and demonstrate they brought the trailer in, backed it up to our bay door, brought their robot in and demonstrated their robot from the previous competition, which is really cool to see. And then we got them in our lab. We got them to get some hands-on time in our lab and introduce them to our program. And they got to jog around our robots and have a good time with that. As luck would have it, or maybe not so much luck, but as the stars aligned there, 2 of the students that were on that tour in Team 1075 actually graduated from our program, started in the following September and graduated 3 years later. They're still out there in industry. So always great to have that connection with FIRST Robotics, and extremely proud of our electromechanical program.
Wow, that's really interesting. This is going to sound super nerdy, but can we look at your labs?
You sure can. I would like to actually share with you take you on a little bit of a virtual tour. So if you bear with me,
we're here for this. We're here for this.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. One moment. And Vanshika, what I'm going to do is share with you a live view of our lab. Okay, and what you should be able to see on your screen here, Vanshika, this is a live view into one of the work cells of our lab. So you're going to see this dancing yellow robot performing a little bit of a jig here in front of us. And
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second, Bo. Sorry to cut you off. I don't think we're seeing it just yet.
No problem.
It's like the great unveiling coming up right here. We got to build some
suspense.
drama. Exactly.
It's like a good novel.
Yeah.
Exactly. Got to have that build up.
Right.
No problem, folks.
But I promise you, the suspense is worth it.
And as this continues to build, so students in the program, what year would they typically get access to that lab?
So this particular lab is open to students starting in the middle of the 2nd year.
Okay.
And they spend a considerable amount of time here and all the way into the 3rd year of studies. And in the 3rd year of studies, they have a final project. And in the lab itself, what they have to do is create this, what we call a capstone project. And students are able to access the lab after hours, which is fantastic and amazing that we're able to offer that particular opportunity to them to come in after hours and finish their projects, work on them. And then they have these certain milestone dates that they have to hit to demonstrate throughout the semester.
Very, very cool stuff. And maybe while Bo gets that going, I wonder for Aaron or Marissa, so many of our students, they're here because they participate in FIRST, which is an extracurricular activity, and a lot of them want to continue extracurricular activities when they get to college. What types of programs are available for the students at Durham?
So for ways to get involved at Durham College, we have a number of different options. So anyone involved or wants to get involved with athletics, students do get a gym membership included with their student fees. We have varsity sports. We have our esports arena. So that's at our Oshawa campus. So if you want to play on the esports varsity team or just play some video games in between classes, we have that at our Oshawa campus. We also have leadership opportunities like our Institute of Student Leadership. So if you want to get involved and become a student leader on campus, there's tons of volunteer opportunities to do so. We have things like Riot Radio, which is our radio station on campus. We have a broadcasting program, but that Riot Radio opportunity is open to any student who's interested. So there are tons of ways to get involved with Durham College. And if you want to learn a bit more about Durham College, we are having some events coming up Like our open house will be on Saturday, April 9th. So great opportunity to learn more about our programs, about ways to get involved. And so we'll have some more details about that coming up soon. And we are also currently offering virtual tours, which includes a virtual tour of the IMC as well, which we have up on the screen now, but we'll be doing in-person tours starting again in March.
That was some great timing there, Marissa and Bo.
It really was.
You lined that one up perfectly.
She knew it was coming.
Yeah. All right, Bo, what are we looking at?
Well done, Marissa, and thanks very much. So what we're looking at is our first work cell in our integrated manufacturing center. And it's important to note that this particular site is at our North Oshawa campus for Durham College. Again, the students who spend the most time in this particular area are electromechanical students. And you're going to see this yellow robot arm, of course, doing a little bit of a dance here for us. And what the robot is able to do is, as I zoom in here a little bit using our live IP camera, the robot itself is able to interact with these black pallets that travel throughout the green belt conveyor system that you see it in the lab. The whole idea here is that we have many different technologies that have to talk to each other. It's different programming languages that the students have to learn. We teach them how to do this from the ground up and then integrate them or tie them together. So if we're having a conversation, of course, if we don't speak the same language, but we have to have some form of translation that goes on. And it's the same thing in the automation world. Many of these particular devices, such as vision cameras, barcode scanners, the robot itself, and the main controller that runs the conveyor system, they all run on different languages. And we have to make sure that as controls people and the folks that we're teaching and being our students, that they learn how to translate. They learn how to be fluent in different languages that ultimately communicate signals back and forth to come up with a very complex system that many of our employers, of course, are wowed as they walk through the facility, and we're so proud to be able to share it. What I'd like to do is I'm going to pan a little bit to the right here so you can have a little bit better view of the overall facility. Facility itself is approximately worth about a $3 million investment in terms of not including the bricks and mortar, but the robotic work cells themselves. And inside we have, of course, our students working in pairs, okay, working on these individual work cells. As you see the other robots doing a dance in the background as well.
I think they're waving to us. I think that's like, oh, yo, I'm on First Canada
They're
Live.
having their
This
own
is great.
party.
Exactly. This is really cool stuff. I wonder, Vanshika, like, what are your thoughts on this as a prospective
Honestly,
student?
the first thing that came to my mind is like Iron Man. Like, you know, in Iron Man, how he has like the robot arm. Like, that's the
Dummy
first
and
thing
Dumb
that came to my
You.
mind.
They have names. Dummy and Dumb You. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm not a true Marvel fan, clearly, but
yeah.
I don't know. I think they're super cool. I like how we can actually like see them live. Like that's like really interesting compared to just like looking at pictures, like in my opinion.
I appreciate that, Vanshika. And, you know, we not only strive to offer our students the best quality education in the province in terms of electromechanical, but we do our best, of course, to use the latest technology to be able to facilitate and create that learning path for them. So we utilize these cameras. The reason they're there is not just for a show and tell type of idea, it's for our classroom. So if I'm in a lecture, before we go into the lab space, we have some theoretical pieces that we need to talk about and introduce students to some new concepts. We can dial in this camera at any time, zoom in on the components that we're talking about, and then of course it brings that lecture to life. And the whole point is to get students on the ground running before we get into the lab, and their uptake since we've brought these into place has certainly improved. So it's beneficial from the teaching and learning side as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is fabulous to see. We are running down on time here, though. So I want to ask two questions. One, we have a quick question from chat. You know, you say esports, and you always get our chatters interested in stuff. They want to know, what games do the esports teams compete in?
That is a great question.
That's a fantastic question.
I am not too well versed in the world of video games, so I do recommend you can visit Durham Lords, our website. If you Google Durham Lords, that is our varsity team. Information about our esports team is on there, or attend our open house event. Athletics can tell you a bit more about esports and all of our varsity teams.
Thank you for that. And before we go, you will remiss. How do students apply? Is there still time, or are we talking next year? Or
there is still time.
Okay, there is real.
Yes, electromechanical is still open. Many of our programs, including many programs in the School of Science and Engineering Technology, are still open. So you apply on ontariocolleges.ca. Again, If you do have questions about the application process, please feel free to attend our open house event, or we also do webinars every week. This week we're not doing one, but coming up the next few weeks we will have one. So that's a great time to ask any questions you may have about our programs, as well as the application process.
Thanks, Marissa. And I just
Thank
want
you
to say
so
thank you to
much.
Durham College for this like long-term
Mhm.
partnership we've had with First Canada. We can't wait to get back there. I miss being on that campus. I miss all of it. So I'm looking forward to getting back
We
there
miss it too.
at some
Yes.
point
Absolutely.
soon. And like Bo, I want a tour of that lab. I really need to see that in person.
We would be happy to have you, Karthik, at any time, and that goes for the viewers as well. Marissa had talked about our open house coming up, and we'll be able to do these live feeds through the open house. I'll be there, and happy to answer any questions that you have about the program, or of course Durham College life as well.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone from Durham College. Marissa, Aaron, Bo, thank you so much for being on the show. And we will be back in a moment after a word from one of our sponsors.
What I value most about Lakeside and Lakeside's culture is the extracurricular activity or involvement that Lakeside has with organizations such as FIRST. Having a partnership with FIRST is really important to me because I part-time teach kids robotics, and I am an advocate for women in STEM and women in engineering, and kind of overcoming that, stigma or that appearance of what people in certain fields look like. And so the fact that Lakeside has an alliance with FIRST Robotics shows that it aligns their values with my values, and that's really important to me.
Okay, we're back. The robot arms just make me excited, especially and when you said the Iron Man thing, I was like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
Dummy and Dumb You. I love those two robots.
I had to say something, like it was like the
Uh,
first thing my mind went to.
It's interesting because I got into robots before like Iron Man came out or whatever, but now it's just that association. You see like that style arm, the multi-axis arm, and it's like, whoa, yeah, right there we go. But hey, Vanshika, we're going to talk with more schools. We now have another longtime partner of First Canada, the University of Windsor. So please welcome first Michelle Bondi, winner of the 2019 Windsor Essex District Volunteer Appreciation Award, a proud alum of the University of Windsor, 2009 BSc, 2015 BEd, now working as a learning specialist in the University of Windsor School of Environment and Faculty of Science. She teaches courses and works on projects that provide undergraduate students with experiential learning opportunities such as internships, service learning, undergraduate research, the whole shebang right there. Also coordinates several community outreach programs and events in the Faculty of Science. Michelle has been a member of the Windsor Essex First Robotics Committee since 2013. That's almost 10 years now, Michelle. Is it wild to think about? It is.
Time flies.
Yeah. It's like a time warp, but it's like yesterday, but it was also like ages ago. And you've been helping organize local FRC and First Lego League Challenge events and fostering connections between the University of Windsor and First communities. So welcome, Michelle. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
It's good to have you. The last time you were here, I was like, okay, well, hopefully we'll be able to see soon at an event, but it's actually happening just a couple of weeks away. It's
in
like
April.
It's on the calendar. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm coming to Windsor. This is going to be good. And joining us, we have Brendan Mayu, who's a third-year computer science student at the University of Windsor, an alum of Team 4688, Saint Spot. He's got the yellow on. I recognize it. I love it. It's great to see. Since graduating from his high school team, he's mentored 2 teams in the Windsor region and helped strengthen the FIRST community at the University of Windsor through the creation of a FIRST alumni club, which we definitely are going to want to hear more about because that sounds cool. That sounds new. So I think, Brandon, start off with you. I want to know, what could you share about the University of Windsor and why you chose UWindsor?
Yeah, so, growing up in the Windsor area, University of Windsor was always a kind of like a beacon of further education in my area. And especially in the FIRST community, always hosting an event there. It was a place we always went. And also the environment that they had around the FRC with, I knew Michelle in high school because of going to the UWindsor event. She wanted to actually, get to know all of us. And when picking schools, the university even had like entrance scholarships and stuff for students who went to the university, who did like FRC and stuff like that. Another big reason I went and I chose the University of Windsor was it's not the biggest school around. And that can work to your advantage in a lot of ways. Yeah, I know a lot of my faculty firsthand. I have, you know, good connections with a lot of my profs. And for someone who's very ambitious and self-driven and knowing what they want to pursue, there's a lot of the resources there that are a lot easier to obtain in terms of getting like references or volunteer extracurricular opportunities with profs and exceeding your knowledge beyond the curriculum. Um, and on top of that, I was able to do a course at the University of Windsor called Service Learning, which allowed me to actually go back and mentor for FRC teams as a university credit that went towards my diploma or my degree when I graduate, which I thought was an amazing thing. And yeah, and now that I've been here, I've helped mentor quite a few teams. And with the club, I am hoping to help unify more of the first community at the University of Windsor and help mentor clubs in a more organized fashion with more organized information and, a community of help in case a team would need it. So.
And that's really cool that you mentioned that you got credit for that. Because I remember when I was in university, I was very, very fortunate. I did an internship at General Motors where I want to say like 99% of my job was mentoring an FRC team. That's what they brought me in for. And I remember thinking at the time, all my friends were like, you found the greatest freaking racket. You were getting paid General Motors money to mentor an FRC team. I'm like, yeah, but like our team works really hard. So it's like, this is not like a coach course kind of thing, but it was just, a lot of fun. It's really cool to see that more universities are sort of embracing that to do this. And I think this is the first time I've heard of like course credit specifically in Canada university for mentoring. So that's
really getting awesome. Credits for like being part of first, like, oh my gosh, sounds like it's such a good deal.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of high school students now out there who are doing that because there are some, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are a handful of schools in Ontario that offer first as a course credit. So that's really neat to say as well. And Michelle, you've been a part of this, we said, since 2013, but can you tell us more about the connections between Windsor and First?
Absolutely. So how to know where to start. Right. The connection keeps growing all the time. So obviously we host the Windsor Essex Great Lakes District event, which we have been hosting since 2014, I think was the first year we held it. And, we're a gold sponsor of that event and the host, and we love being able to have that on our campus. So we're so excited it's happening again this year, finally. We also offer scholarships for First alumni, which we'll talk about hopefully in more detail soon, but those are available for First students. We have the service learning course that Brandon mentioned. So that's a course that I teach actually. And I think it's so great that we can offer that credit available to students who want to go back and mentor, because we recognize the value of mentoring and we recognize the value of sharing their knowledge with high school teams, right? Because they've been part of their teams for so long. So it was nice to be able to do that. The Faculty of Science also sponsors local FRC teams. So in the Windsor, Essex, and Chatham-Kent region, we provide $1,000 sponsorship for the last few years, every year, to the teams to help them get started on their robots every season. And, a lot of our faculty, staff, students are mentors, volunteers, judges, and help out at various events, both FRC and FLL.
I know one of the things I really love about going to the Windsor event, it just feels so like familial, like everyone is like knows each other, everyone works together. Sometimes like I remember the first year, I'll admit I was a little bit intimidated because I'm like, oh, I was like an outsider, and then like so quickly everyone's like just makes you feel
part
at
of
home.
The family now.
Exactly, yeah, it's like it is. That's why I was like, oh yeah, I want to get back for this. This is
really, really you're cool. Part of the Windsor family, so we can't have you back.
I am so pumped for this. It's just gonna
and that's
be
true for
good.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes to the Windsor event, you're all part of our family now.
It is, yeah. It's a really. It's just a nice event. There's like, it's spacious, it's good. There's all sorts of things happening. I know, Brandon, your team competed there regularly and had good experiences in the such, but I don't, Vanshika, what do you think about all of this?
Yeah, I like that you said that, when you're mentoring, like you're passing down knowledge and like giving more experience to them, which I think is really important because like, it helps like high school students just get like a jump start into like what their future is going to look like almost. Like personally, like I would love to like know what I'm going to get into when I go to university for engineering. Like that would be awesome. But also I want to know, like, I know you mentioned scholarships. So like what scholarships are available for like First alumni at University of Windsor?
We have different levels of scholarships available for FRC alumni depending on the program that they're applying to. Mm-hmm. So the first level is a U Windsor level scholarship, and it's $1,000 if you're a member of an FRC team to any program at the University of Windsor. So that could be history, science, engineering, business, anything. And then if you choose a program in the Faculty of Science or the Faculty of Engineering, you get an extra $1,000, so you're up to $2,000. And there's an attestation form that's on the awards website, and it simply just needs a signature from your mentor confirming you were on the team for 1 year. And we only ask for 1 year of participation because we know that a lot of teams have had different abilities to participate in the program with everything going on in the last couple of years. And then if you want to go into computer science offers up to 5 awards annually for another $1,000. So if you're in computer science, you could get up to $3,000 by completing another form for them. So there's pretty good money available. And it's not a lot of paperwork to complete to get them.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that you also like offer scholarships for stuff that's like not engineering related for first students. Cause I know that a lot of people like think that, oh, if you're part of first, like, oh, you're 100% going into STEM. But like, I know so many people who were part of my robotics team and they graduated and did something completely not related to engineering.
Absolutely.
Like they went into like, you know, English or whatever. And I think that's like really cool that you're still like rewarding them for the work that they did in high school.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, Vanshika, because I think that's something that's been overlooked a lot in our community. A lot of people kind of, there's a lot of folks out there who's like, well, first is about producing the next generation of STEM students. And that's part of it. But first is more about teaching people how to solve problems. And we need problem solvers in all fields, not just in STEM. Sorry, Michelle, I think I cut you off there.
No, you were saying basically what I was going to say. I can't agree more. And you know, having people in different disciplines with an understanding of STEM as well is really useful. So I'm happy that, you know, a first alumni coming into, I know of students in communications, media and film, in business, history I mentioned already, but I do know a student who went into history, and then the non kind of computer science engineering fields in STEM as well. So biology and environment and things like that. I think it's great to have the FRC members kind of spreading out and spreading the word of first in different disciplines.
Yeah, and I think it's really good for our students to know that they're welcome to make those choices too, because I think there's a lot of pressure sometimes. I don't even know, like I was a math major, which is like as close to engineering as you can get, but I still felt like, oh, maybe I should have, like, should I be in engineering? You know, it's just that inclusivity is really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really important. But what piece of advice would you give to your high school self and to like our first audience members today? Because like I know a lot of people like me are like, you know, about to go into university and like post-secondary. So what's some advice?
100% for me, like something I wish I understood more was just how advanced some of the knowledge you can learn just by being part of FRC. Like I knew some of the programming I was doing was different from what I was learning in my curriculum as part of like high school computer science, but I didn't realize just how advanced some of those topics can get depending on how much you push for, you know, that extra level of complexity or precision when it comes to programming that robot to and how it can apply later on your resume or in your university experience or even beyond that. So I just appreciate the FRC experience you can get now, whether it be in business, computer science, engineering, whatever it is. Just use the resources FRC has to boost your skills as much as possible, because those will help you not just in high school, but in university and onward if you really push at it.
I think that's really helpful advice for like everybody, because I feel like before going into first, like I was really nervous because I was like, oh, like I need to know like all this information before I go in to even be successful in the team. But like really you don't. Like you just have to ask questions and be there and just like honestly just look at your mentors doing stuff, you know. You can learn a lot just from like observing.
Brandon, you touched on it. We touched on your intro with the bio, but tell us more about, we only got a couple minutes here. So give us like the short version on this club, and then people can find out more from you somehow, right?
Yes. So the club right now, unfortunately, it was started up to be a mentorship club in the Windsor area just before the pandemic happened. So unfortunately with that, you know, in-person mentoring, which was the goal of the club, was to make a common space for all the alumni at the university, because we've realized there are so many university students who, you know, have been part of FRC and kind of need that push or that organization to put them back into the first community, because there's a lot of knowledge to be, you know, reused and recycled that they've gained from the 4 years that they've been on the team. So Yeah, it's to bring them together to then make resources and put them back out to mentor the high school teams to keep that information and experience growing in the Windsor area.
I can't wait to see what the impact of that's going to be once you get back. You're able to meet in person with, and I'm sure the teams are going to really appreciate it. And I think we're going to see. I just love that passing down of information. I think that's what makes this program excellent. Like, there are a lot of STEM related extracurriculars out there right now, but FIRST is the one that really pairs mentors with students for that synergistic learning. And I think that's a really, really cool approach. Michelle, before we go, is there anything else you'd like to let our audience know about the University of Windsor? Or
I know we're short on time, so I will just say that we have our open house coming up, and we have both virtual and in-person options. So if anybody wants to learn more about the University of Windsor, our programs, our student supports, our extracurriculars, any of those things, they can visit the UWindsor website, uwindsor.ca, and find out about our open house. It's happening on Saturday, March 5th.
Saturday, March 5th. Okay, there we go. Brandon, before we go, so you said you were in the service learning classes. Does that mean Michelle was your professor?
Yes, she was.
Okay, what rating did you give her on the form? What rating did you give her?
I gave her an amazing rating on the form.
That's you should. There you go. There you go. That's pretty cool.
Brandon.
Profs need that. That's important for the profs and whatever, so reward that stuff. It's the same thing in person, like when you hand out that gracious professionalism form where you talk about a team. That's awesome. So, hey, thank you so much for coming on. Brandon, always good to see a St. Spot alum on the show. Michelle, thank you. And we will see you all soon in a few weeks. Vanshika, are you coming to that event? Is your team going to that one?
Unfortunately not.
Oh,
okay. Oh, well, maybe wait, you're graduating this year. So I guess we won't see you on a team next year. Volunteer next year, maybe.
I will definitely be volunteering. You will definitely be seeing me around. Awesome. I am not leaving.
There we go.
Look forward to meeting you.
There we go. It's going to be a good time. Everyone, thank you, University of Windsor. And we will be back in just a moment, folks. Every time I hear from one of these schools, I'm like, why am I not in high school anymore? I want to go back. The schools are so much cooler than they were. Not that they weren't, like there was good stuff, but there's so much more stuff. It's just, I think it would be hard though, because I think there'd just be so many options. It's like, I had paralysis by choice. I'm not going to say how many years ago, but a lot of years ago when I was going through this about which programs to take. Now there's just like 10 times as many things. So I'm sure you're going through it too.
Honestly, like just there's so many things, and like oftentimes you're like, oh my god, I want to do this program, but then you're like, oh my gosh, this program is so cool, and it's like, there's so many opportunities. Like sometimes I hate that because I'm like, I just want one thing, and then and just stick with it. But I think it's really awesome for like other students who don't know what they're doing.
Are you the kind of person when you go to like a buffet, you walk around, you come back, and there's like 87 things on your plate? Because that's me.
I mean, I'm not that. I think we should move on to the next topic.
I want to try everything. It's just like I want a little piece of this, and then like I end up eating way too much because it's just like it's like how do I go to a normal restaurant where I just order one thing off the menu? I want this, this, and this. Yeah.
Because then the other things look so good. You can't miss out.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's been a while since I've been to a buffet, obviously, but yeah, it'll be good. Hey, so Rapid React. That's the game we're playing this season, and events are coming up shortly. We just talked about this, but I want to know, Vanshika, now that you've had a few more weeks with the game, you've been in person, you've touched these, pieces of cargo and whatever. What are your thoughts on the game now?
I think it's really interesting. I was like over the weekend, I was watching week 0 events like nonstop. Like every minute I had, I'd be watching it, and just like being able to see the game actually play out was like so cool to me, because like when you see the game animation, it's like, it's like animated. So it doesn't really show you the possibilities of what robots can really do. But when you actually see them on the field and you see them like working together, it's like crazy, because you're like, oh my gosh, it's like, there's robots competing finally. I don't know. It's just like, I think it's such a good game this year. I really like it.
So you said the word possibilities. You want to see the possibilities that are out there? Because I got a video for you, and it's.
I want to see so bad, Karthik.
It's been on the web, I think, for maybe like 36 hours now. I think it's already at 60,000 views, which is like a lot. This is from Team 1690, Orbit from Binyamina Hassapan Israel. They are one of the best teams in the world. Vanshika, you probably know this, but I'll tell the whole audience. Your team, 2056, has a deep relationship with them because you two were world championship finalists in 2056, and not 2056, in 2016, 2056 and 1690. The final match was tied. It was a tiebreaker. It went the other way, but that was some really cool stuff. But let's take a look at what Orbit is up to. And we're going to play this without sound for YouTube music reasons, but just take a look, folks. And maybe we can talk about it as it goes.
Oh, I love the design and the LEDs so much.
And they're shooting on the run.
Oh my
Just
god.
shooting on the run. That's a 2056
I
thing
love
right
that.
there. But like how fast they're going shooting on the run.
It's like crazy.
And
like it's so quick to pick up as well.
Yeah, the intake is just, it's in and out, in and out. And wait till you see this one, because we're gonna see it in a second. They pick up a red ball and watch what they do. As we just see more, just the swerve drive, just cutting around sideways, just going every different way.
Swerve drive always amazes me for some reason. Like I don't know why, it's just so amazing.
They get a red ball, and there's this where they show it. It's so cool when they do it. I'm overhyping it, but I'm just so geeking out by this. These shots just it automatically rejects the red ball. It's like
oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so like they can just drive full speed, pick up whatever balls. If a red ball comes in, it's going to reject it and send it out the field.
And I feel like that's such a cool like defense thing too, because like if you know the other team's going to get the red ball, like just shoot it the other way.
Yeah,
so they have
do
to
it right
go
there.
further.
The turret automatically changes to shoot it in the wrong spot, and well, obviously it's rapid react, so we're going to get to an end game soon.
This is so crazy. I'm so sorry, but the LEDs are so amazing.
Vanshika, just watch. Okay, so they go to the mid bar. So then you think they would go to the high bar next, right?
Don't tell me the way to
They skipped it.
Oh my gosh. I love how they just glaze over that like it was like nothing.
Yeah.
They're just like, yeah, it's like easy for us. Like that is crazy.
In 2020, season got canceled partway through. In my opinion, I still think that in 2020, 2056 had the best robot in the world, but they were right up there. And right now, I do, Veggie. I'm not just saying that because you're here. I'd say that if you weren't here as well. But this is fantastic. And there's still like weeks before they're competing. They're done and could put together a polished video like this. This is
that's
wild.
Really quick.
So, impressions. I know. What do you think?
I just like, it's crazy. Like I'm just like speechless because it's like, how? Like how do you make it like the editing for the video, but like the robot itself, like everything about it just works so well together. From like it rejecting like the red balls to like even going from like mid rung to transversal, like that is such a long distance if you think about it. Like it's not hard to like go from rung to rung itself, So just to skip a whole rung itself, like I just know they put in so much like time and effort into it, and like it's working.
Yeah, and remember also like they're in Israel, so they have some challenges. With you think about it, it's hard to get parts here when you're ordering from Andy Mark or something like that. Imagine in Israel. So to do all of that, just wild. It's so cool, and I want to thank Orbit for letting us share their video today. I wrote them up and said, hey, I want to show this to Canada. They're like, yeah, of course you can show it to Canada. So this is really cool. Question in chat from our friend Mike V. The climber seems to keep the robot to the side of the rung. When do you think we'll see a triple transversal climb? So getting 3 robots on that transversal bar will be really, really hard. I don't expect to see it often in elimination rounds because in elimination rounds, I don't think you're going to get 3 teams together on the same alliance who will have a transversal climb. I think it'll be rare, but maybe if you get the right qualification match at provincial championship, for example, here in Ontario, or Michigan State Championship, or maybe a division at championships, but also it has to be worth it to go for it, because like maybe if you have 3 robots that can transversal climb, in theory, there are high quality robots. Maybe it's like, I want to keep a robot on the ground to ensure we get our cargo ranking point. So yeah, I think it will be doable, but it's really about when will the circumstances exist for it to happen. And also there's a compatibility piece there, because as Mike said, that orbit robot seems like it can get far to the side, but a lot of the transversal climbers I'm seeing need to have 2 arms on,
Mhm.
and you can fit 2, but fitting 3.
Yeah,
tough. But
especially with like the robots like being like bigger as well. It's like I feel like even going to transversal is hard, but like I personally think like we could see at least like on like a robot on like mid run while another one's like transversal. I definitely think that's like something you would see though.
The other piece is with a lot of these teams who are doing transversal climbs, it's like there's a lot of swing in the robot because they go, they release, and they swing with the monkey bars. And when you're swinging and there's someone else that's already hanging, that's when bad things can happen. And so with 2, it's like, okay, maybe we can make enough room. But like, think about, we're back in elementary school, Vanshika. We're going to the playground, and it's like, okay, all 3 of us are going to get on the monkey bars and let's swing. Oh, someone's falling, you know? And so that could be the thing. Like, robots are going to really have to plan this out and see how this can work. And like any game that First has had where there's been a triple challenge involved, like a triple climb or whatever, it's always constrained space. And so I think will it happen? Yes.
I think it's gonna be really rare though.
When will it happen? Oh, it could be a while. And I think the other thing to remember is that this year, the playing field's really difficult to construct. So teams will have had less opportunity to practice this sort of thing. It's harder for teams to practice together right now. Because before, you just like, hey, come to my practice field. You know, we'll have 4 teams over here. We'll get together. Like 11, 14, and 2056 always would get together in St. Catharines at the practice field, hang out, whatever. That stuff isn't necessarily happening. So there's less of that. So there's a lot of challenges, but it is probably the hardest challenge in the game. And I know our teams are always up for the big challenges. So, you know, people are going to want to do it. So I am excited about that.
Yeah,
And so,
I also like, I just want to say it's like really helpful for like Orbit to even put out this video because there's a lot of teams of, you know, who are new this year and they're like, well, we don't even know what a robot's supposed to do. Like, we don't know where to start. So by seeing like robot reveals like this, it's like really helpful for them because it helps them brainstorm some ideas. They're like, okay, we see them doing this, like maybe we can't achieve it to that level, but we can use it as a starting point, which is like really helpful, I think, for rookie teams.
I'm going to do one of these back in my day stories. I hate doing it, but so when I started my first year, the first year that First existed in Canada, the first ever Canadian team, YouTube didn't exist at this point. And videos on the internet were like nearly impossible. Also, first matches, there weren't alliances back then. It was 1 versus 1 versus 1. So there was less desire for teams to share stuff out there. And so we'd never truly seen a real robot until we drove to Michigan to watch an event before ours. And it was like, oh, we didn't picture half this stuff happening, you know? And it's really cool that teams there's so many resources now between prototyping videos, robot in 3 days, the week 0 event just being streamed. Like you couldn't watch streams of events, you know, in that era. And so,
yeah, especially like during the pandemic, it's like super hard for teams to even meet together. So just like, you know, being able to see this and like, you know, talk about it, it's just like, I think that's really helpful. And I'm really grateful that teams are doing this.
Yeah. And you know what? The team could have said, hey, we're not going to show anything because like, look at that. You can dissect that climb. And there could be teams right now who are going to be like, hey, let's start working on an orbit climb and get it ready for Houston or get it ready for Michigan State Championship or Ontario Provincial Championship because there's no bag anymore. But orbits, that's okay. People, we're showing us our robot. If people want to copy it, that's fine. You know, and like just, I think that's gracious professionalism. I think,
yeah,
you know,
I was just going to say too.
It's just another form of like the sharing that happens in this stuff. You know, it doesn't happen. I was watching the Olympics and they were talking about the Germans kept winning bobsled medals because they have great athletes, drivers, and brake people, but they also have the best bobsleds in the world. And they were saying like the other countries have no idea what's going on under the hood in those German bobsleds and why they're so fast because no one shares anything in all of that. But it's just a different culture. And so I mean, it goes without saying, I love the culture that we have here in First, but I can't wait for everyone to see it in person soon again. And speaking of in person, we're going to be talking about in-person FRC events when we come back in just a moment. Well, hey, Vanshika. Oh, look at that. The bucket hat representing.
Just for this segment, I had to put it on.
Well, this segment's a pretty big one because we've got like the
Mhm.
two biggest celebrities in First Canada right now. We got the big guns here for this one.
Mhm.
Starting off first with Vice President of Partnerships for First Canada and 2016 Woody Flowers Finalist Award winner, Arti Javeri.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Arti.
Karthik. Hi,
Welcome.
Vanshika.
Welcome
Hi,
back to the
Arti.
show, Arti. It's been a while. Have you been on this
Been a
season?
while. I don't think so. There's
How
a
did
lot
we let
going
that
on.
happen? How did we let that happen? You snuck your way out of this. We also have none other than the president of First Canada and 2017 First World Festival Volunteer Award winner, Dave Ellis. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Karthik. Hey, Vanshika, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
So
I'm
my
doing well,
first
thanks.
question before we get to the event stuff, did you watch that orbit video? I want to know what your thoughts are of that robot.
I couldn't believe how fast it took in those balls. It was just insane. Like it was I don't know. I wish my vacuum was that fast picking up stuff. Like it was just crazy. And like even there was one clip there, it happened really quickly, but like the ball was bouncing and it just sucked it right in. And then like that turret with the red ball and just shooting off to the side it's just crazy.
Arti, what do
Can't
you
wait
think
to
of the
see that in
climb,
actual
Arti?
competition.
That was crazy. It was nuts. It felt like you were back at an event. It was really nuts.
Right? I saw that. I guess it was yesterday, and I was just like, okay, I'm ready to go. Like I was ready to line up outside of Humber, just like, okay, let me in. But we're not doing that this year, right, Arti?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not.
See, that's a segue. There's a segue. So this year our events are a little bit different. We have single day events, fewer numbers of teams. We have a lot of COVID safety protocols to make things as safe as possible for our teams. We're really excited about. We've created a safe environment for our teams to really be able to get back to things, but ensuring that their communities, their families themselves will be in great shape. But Dave, there's a lot of stuff that's new this year. Do you want to kind of give an overview, especially when it comes to COVID tips, screening, passports, masks, food? What's happening?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I want to start off by thanking the COVID task force led by you, Karthik, who, that group has met weekly since the beginning of this year to really dig in and digest the protocols that are required of this. And they're quite extensive, as you can see on our website. The link I think will be shown later on, but it was an intense workload, and I think we've really nailed. We've really nailed it. So I'm excited about our COVID protocols, and excited that it's going to keep people safe. And what it does for me, Karthik, is it allows me to go into this event season feeling like really confident that we're going to be able to do this successfully and keep people safe, and kind of eliminates that kind of, oh no, I wonder, if we're doing it, everything that we can. I know we're doing everything we can, so I'm excited about that. To answer your question though, there are way too many protocols to go into in this half-hour segment, so I'm not going to go all.
Please don't, please.
I'm not going to go over all of them, but there are a few that I thought were pretty important. The vaccination piece is obviously our most important safeguard, and then masking and food, I think, are probably some of the big ones. So I'll just touch on those really quickly. And I would also like to say that your event emails from now on are going to be critical. I think Arti and I are going to probably say, read your event email about 20 times in the next 20 minutes. So I'll just start off by saying that those event emails are going to be huge, because each event is unique, right? Everything that happens at that event, we have general overarching goals or the guidance for these things, but each venue is going to have their own idiosyncrasies that we're going to have to follow. So it's really, really important that teams follow those event emails. So screening, I'm going to talk about Humber mostly because that's what's coming up. And anybody who has an event after Humber, read your event emails.
Right, and a lot of these things will apply to the other events.
Yes.
But we were talking Humber specifically, and there was going to be specific event emails for all the other events.
Yeah. So at all other events, regardless of where you're going, there's going to be screening and there's going to be vaccination checking. So to make sure that you're on board with that, follow the instructions in the email, because at some places it might be the venue doing the checking with their own app, for example, or their own website. They have to do it, and you have to do it through their process. In some cases, it might be our process if they don't have that in stone. So again, read your emails, figure out which one it is for your event, and go ahead with that. Vaccination is going to be mostly the same everywhere. It's going to be the Ontario Verify app QR code that we're going to be checking. It might be the venue checking, it might be us checking, but you're gonna have to go through that checking process through that. What I personally find when I've gone places that have needed that, I actually have my whole family on my phone. So I've got a photo album in here, and I've got everybody's photo ID and everybody's, or not photo ID, but ID, and everybody's vaccination passport on here. And I just stand there and show all four of us, me, my wife, and my two kids, and then off we go into the ski, usually skiing. So that's vaccination. I don't know. Do we need to stop or keep going? I don't know if you have questions.
I think that one's pretty clear. That vaccination checks are a part of what's going on right now, and so everyone watching, your mentors have probably already told you about this, but just make sure you have it on your phone and ready to go. Also, if lots of high school students don't have phones, that's fair too. If you don't have a phone, bring your paper copy. Just make sure it's got that QR code on there.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Doesn't have to be on your phone. I just find it handy to have it there. But yeah, for sure. And the key there really, I think, is to be as prepared as possible, because nobody likes getting in the lineup to do their passport checking and then waiting for the person to be like, oh, hold on, I got to find it. Here it is. Oh, it's in my wallet somewhere. Like have it ready to go, right? So that we can get through that stuff fast. Okay, masking. Everybody by now, we're 2 years into a pandemic. Hopefully everybody knows how to wear a mask, but make sure it's over your nose, over your chin. And we're ideally looking for the medical masks or the KN95s. But whatever you have, when you come to the event, if you want a medical mask, we'll have them there for you as a spectator. So feel free to check in with us if you need that upgrade from a cloth mask if you want. And we're also going to have masks for our volunteers. So chat with us about that if you need it. But the expectation is that everybody will be obviously bringing their own masks.
Does this mean I can't wear my first can of masks I just got?
You totally can, Vanshika. But what I recommend, Vanshika, is that I like to layer, and I'll probably be doing that at events where I'll have a KN95, then I'll have a fashion mask over top of it, because you've got to be fashion.
I'm going to be repping that first Canada mask at all my events.
There you go.
Yeah, for sure. Which First Canada mask do you have, Vanshika?
I have the Youth Council one that's black, and then it has like First Canada logo right here.
On the side? Yeah. I like that one.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the black mask. Kind of goes with everything, right? Doesn't matter what you're wearing, black goes with everything. So I like that. It's much better than the surgical blue masks, right? So, okay, yeah, so we've got masking. Sorry, Karthik, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I care a little bit too much about fashion, so I ordered a bunch of black surgical masks. So I have those.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I didn't know they made black surgical masks.
Yeah, they do. They do. So I usually wear a KN95, but for times when it's like less interaction, I just put on the black one. So it's
when it has to go with the outfit. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say we should put that order in for black masks.
Yeah, for sure. Who knew? All right. So food. Again, each venue is going to have a different scenario for food, right? But we all know that having your mask down and eating is going to be one of the riskier times. So we're recommending if the weather is great, eat outside. If not, we're going to be trying to find different places where teams and volunteers can eat kind of segregated from other places. So in some venues, it might be like a classroom where your team has, another one, it might be a cafeteria that's large enough to have teams spread out and have social distancing there. So we'll try and do that. And there's going to be breaks in the schedules. They've been posted, right? So hopefully those breaks will give teams the chance that not everybody's going for lunch all in the same break. Hopefully people can plan around that. But yeah, again, eating outside, if the weather's good, I can't wait. I can't wait for the venues or the events when the weather is beautiful. And, it's like this past weekend when it was like, I'm throwing on a sweater and I'm going for a walk. I'm hoping it's like that. And then I can just eat outside on the picnic table or something.
Have a barbecue out there. We're ready for it.
Yeah, for sure. Tailgate. And then
on food, Dave, and so just a reminder, folks, that a lot of times you just kind of eat in the stands or whatever. That's not going to be a thing that you're going to be able to do this year, because we got to be safest. But if you do need to take a drink, you will be. We're saying that if you want to take a drink in the stands, that's fine. Just get 2 meters away from everyone, take mask down, drink, and then get back. But make sure you always be respectful of people's space and you keep that 2 meters, especially if that mask is coming down to take a drink.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Karthik. Load in, load out, we're going to have a schedule. So that hasn't always been the case at different venues in the past. So make sure that you, again, pay attention to that email and figure out when your assigned time slot is, and then show up for that time slot. That way we're able to make sure the teams are socially distanced as they're coming in, unloading the robots and all that stuff as well. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like right now, you know, the program updates every Friday coming from First Canada are important. So kind of have these general ideas and concepts, reminders, but then your event specific emails are going to be critical as well. So make sure you hyper focus in on those ones.
All right. And so Dave, capacity limits this year. We are limiting the amount of people coming per team, right?
Yeah, so I warned you again, read those emails, because again, every venue is going to be slightly different, right? Some venues are a little bit bigger than others. And so those venue limits will be different depending on where you're attending. So make sure you check out your email on that. For Humber, it's going to be 15. So we all know that going into Humber, that the capacity is 15 per team. And Karthik, that's everybody in your team, right? So if you're bringing grandma, she's one of those 15. If you're bringing, you know, 10 mentors, that's 10 out of your 15. So you got to figure out what works for your team and make sure that you've got enough for your pit team, for your pit crew and your drive team and your scouting and obviously supervision. So I know you've talked about it a couple of times in the past, but just making sure that people are aware that that 15 is everybody that's on your team.
I think Vanshika just texted her grandma to say like, hey, grandma, you're working in the pit now. So get ready.
No, I did want to ask really quickly for the viewers who are watching, like when when teams choose their 15 students, is there like a place that they, you know, tell you like, hey, you know, our drive team and pit crew and like people coming on our team are going to be, you know, so and so, or how would that work?
Great question, Vanshika, thanks. So that's going to be connected with our team rosters, right? So again, in your event emails, you're going to get a couple things that you need to fill out. One of them is going to be your team roster, obviously through your dashboard. And then the other one is a spreadsheet template that we're asking you to fill out as well. And that'll tie into our wristband policy. So again, going back to those COVID protocols, when you come to the event, you're going to have we will have your team roster and your attendance check-in list, and then we'll cross-reference that with the people that are arriving. They'll get wristbands as they get checked in through the COVID and screening process. And then those people with wristbands are going to be the ones that are allowed in the event. So that's how we're kind of tracking that, as well as making sure that the right people are in the venue at the time. Once you've got that wristband on, you can kind of come and go. And most venues, it's going to be kind of just I'm going to show you my wristband as I walk in. Once you've got it, that's fine. You won't have to go through the whole process again. But again, even that is sometimes going to be event or venue specific, depending on what their requirements are, if they go above and beyond what we're requiring.
Yeah. And just to add to that as well, I think Vanshika, we're not looking for, you know, who's doing what in your team. It's just a list of team members. You know, if it's a student or an adult, that's really what we're looking for. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in the stands and scouting, or if you're a pit crew member. To us, as long as there are 15 members and you've identified them as a student or an adult, that's good for us. And they're on your team roster. It's important.
And Dave, you know, we talked a lot about you know, protocols and stuff, but things are different that aren't necessarily tied to the protocol, but just because it's single day events, there's, you know, less time, things are compressed. So how is robot inspection going to work this year?
Yeah, that's a good question, Karthik. So robot inspection is going to be slightly different. There is a inspection form that you need to fill out as a team. So you're going to need to download. I think one of our producers is going to put that link in chat for us. But go there, grab that form, download it, print it, and then check it. And personally, I'm not an FRC person, and I'm open to both of your opinions on this. But I would think doing the inspection more than once is probably a good idea, right? Do it like mid-season or like mid-build or whatever, because I think it'll give you an idea as you're inspecting. Oh, our robot can only be so big. Oh, we're actually over, right? And it's better to catch that earlier rather than later, right? And I think it gives you an idea as you're building to stay within that inspection list.
Especially, you know, when you're working on your electrical subsystem, because the checklist is probably the easiest way to make sure you're doing everything right, because the checklist ensures that. And so you might get to the point, it's like, okay, I wired up the robot, let's turn it on. Oh, why isn't it turning on? Why isn't it turning on? Pull out the checklist at that point, make sure you've followed everything. And it's so much better to catch things early, because if you can't, like, some things are fixable, but like if you're like, oh shoot, we were supposed to wire everything with number 12 and we wired it with number 14. And
got to rewire the whole thing.
We have seen plenty of teams who've had to do that at an event, and it's heartbreaking. And that's going to be this year, you know, with how quickly the matches are coming, and it's only one day. You know, you don't have that second day to to roll in through. So like, yeah, check everything early.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
organization
get
is
that-
going to be really important this year for sure.
Absolutely. So yeah, get that checklist printed, check your robot often. And then when you get to the event, the robot inspectors will be able to do an abbreviated inspection with you with their own list there. There are 2 forms online. So if you're looking at the abbreviated checklist, make sure you don't use that one for your team. That's what the robot inspector is going to use at the event. Use the full inspection checklist. That way the judges or the inspectors, when they get to the event, they're gonna see that you've handed that into them and be like, oh, okay, well they've checked all this. Now I can just check these other ones that are on the abbreviated list. So there's a robot inspection tip for you.
Right. And thanks for that, Dave. Now that we've talked robot inspection, I wonder, Arti, maybe you want to walk us through the flow of the event.
Yeah, so as most teams know that they've registered for a 1-day event, or you're coming to an event, both days. I think the key, like Dave mentioned before, is look for program updates and check in your emails. Like emails is the most important thing right now. 10 days or even 2 weeks prior to the event, just make sure you're checking. And if you don't get any email, that's kind of a signal to say, ask somebody what's going on. I haven't received anything.
And
So
Arti,
please make sure. Yes.
those emails go to the 2 lead mentors, right?
They do, yes.
Okay.
All the emails are right now going to the two lead role mentors on the team. So if you're not getting anything in the last 2 weeks of the event, there's something going on, you're not getting something, you better be checking with somebody from First Canada. You can reach out to William Neal, who's on our First website, or myself as well, or Dave, anybody that you can reach out to, because you should be in sync with what's going on with the event. So from a 1-day event perspective, as most people know, there are 2 load-in times. There's the load-in that you can do the night before the event, and the load-in that you can do the morning off. And we know we've kind of intentionally kept that load-in for 2 days, just because we know teams might be coming from, or may not be able to come for an overnight trip and staying at the venue. So we are able to give you load-in times that actually accommodate for the morning and the evening. So feel free to register, like Dave said, check your emails. If there is a load-in time you've been requested to, please request that load-in time. And it's like, if you request it first, you probably get your slot. If you request it later, you might be moved around to a different slot because it's not available. But check your emails for that. During the day, I mean, it's like in any other event, you will come, you'll show up at the event, the pits will open up, we'll have registrations, there'll be a lineup for registrations, so make sure you're checking in and have all your documents that Dave mentioned. Pits will typically open at about 7:15. So when your pits will be open, you can start robot inspections if your robot is ready. Look out for an LRI, get your robot inspected. Calibrations can be done as well right after inspections. And then there will be a short meeting, a driver's meeting, but driver's meeting is really short at the venue. So again, there will be a driver's meeting virtually. Almost everything that we're doing at the event will also be done virtually. So now you can imagine your driver's meeting, your chairman's meeting, your pit interviews. Typically you would see judges coming and actually interviewing or talking to you at the pits. That's happening as well, virtually. So make sure you look at that, your schedules, your emails, to make sure you are aware of all that scheduling that happens. So there'll be a very short drivers meeting followed by practice matches, opening ceremonies, and then alliance selections and playoffs. But most importantly, if you look at the agenda, understand it, because it's slightly different from the other years in terms of how matches are being played. It's important you know your match schedule on the day of the event. So as soon as the match schedule is out, post it in your pits, make sure you're aware, because it might be very frequently that you might be playing games or matches. So yeah.
Well, that is, there's a lot that's happening here. And so, Arti, you talked a little bit about the stuff that's happening to lead up to the event, some of the virtual things. Do you want to go over a little bit, is that about the judging process?
Yes. So like I said, everything what you're doing typically at an event is going to be happening virtually. You have to remember that the pit interviews, like if I'll talk in the pit interviews first, typically you would have judges, coming out to your pits, talking to teams, figuring out, which awards they can give teams, doing their deliberations. That all is going to be moved virtually. So teams now, if you're coming, for example, to the Humber event, your interviews are done on Mondays and Wednesdays. For almost all events, interviews are done on Mondays and Wednesdays. For pits, except for Waterloo, you're going to be doing it on Mondays and Tuesdays. So if you're a team watching and you're coming to Humber, if you haven't got your interview date scheduled for Monday or Wednesday, or you haven't seen your emails, you should probably look at your emails and find that email that tells you your interview time and your date for the Humber event. Dean's List and Chairman's is also happening all virtually this year. So you're going to be having a time slot between February the 21st to February the 27th, which is going on right now. So there are Dean's List happening as we speak right now for teams that are applied for Dean's List. And so you're going to be getting an email out on that to get your exact time and date. Again, the lead mentor that has applied or the lead mentor on the team will get these emails. So make sure if you're a student watching and you are a Dean's List candidate, if you haven't seen anything, please reach out to your mentor and say, when am I scheduled for my interview? Because it's happening this week. Chairman's interviews are happening next week. So if you are a chairman's team and if you are a student watching or a mentor watching and you haven't got an email or you don't really know what's happening, please make sure you check your emails for next week. The interviews are starting Monday next week, February the 28th and finishing on March 3rd. So make sure you check into that as well. That's the last important thing is the drivers meeting. I mentioned that everything that's going on at the event will happen virtually. So drivers meeting will happen on the Thursday. So now you've got Monday, you've got your PIT interview. Tuesday, you'll come to First Canada Live. Wednesday, you will have another PIT interview. Thursday, you'll be doing your drivers meeting with the head ref and the LRIs. And Friday, you'll be loading in. Hopefully, if you're loading in on Friday or Saturday, you'll be loading in. So that week is going to be really busy for teams. So make sure you check in. And it's a whole week event. We moved from 3 days to a whole week now.
Yeah, we didn't go to single day. We went to whole week events. That's actually what happened in all of this. That's, it's funny how that works. And Arti, you mentioned First Canada Live. So we always want people to tune in for First Canada Live. Why would you be anywhere else? But there's special reasons to tune in, right?
There is definitely special reasons. After the Humber event gets over on March the 6th, on the Tuesday of that following week is when we will be announcing the awards for all those events, for that event. So all the awards will be announced on Tuesday through the First Canada Live segment here at 7 o'clock. So tune into First Canada Live on Tuesday after the event, because that's when we'll be announcing all the winners, including Chairman's, Dean's List, all the robot awards, the quality award, all of the awards will be actually announced on the Tuesday of the event. So similarly for Waterloo and York, we'll be announcing that the week following the event, Tuesday, the week following the event. So again, it's important that every Tuesday you watch for the awards, know if you're a winning team, your awards are going to be mailed out to you. Unfortunately, because of the 2-day events and the single day events, we won't be able to give them out at the venue, but we will definitely mail them out to you right after the event.
A lot of information, which is just fabulous. And I think the number one thing is everyone's going to be checking their email. I know that's going to be happening. But
I was going to say, we should pin that in the Twitch chat, check your emails.
Right. Vanshika, I know a lot of this is stuff that you haven't heard before. I'm wondering if you, especially as a student, what the student perspective on what questions you might have.
Personally, I've never heard of driver interviews. Personally, I've never heard about that. So do you want to maybe expand on that, especially for other students who might not know what that means?
Yes. So typically, at an event, we have the drivers meeting, which is there's going to be a drivers meeting. It's just condensed, a lot condensed. But this is the time when teams can actually ask questions from our head reps, from our FTAs, from our LRIs. That's the point where you're going to be asking questions. And that's the piece that we're taking, and we're going to be now doing it virtually. So you will get an email, a week or two before the event asking teams to submit your questions. So now you have the opportunity to submit questions to our key role leads at the event in advance. And then when you come to that meeting, the drivers meeting, we'll be able to address those questions and be able to talk to you about, what will happen with the questions that you've put in. So it's a mix of, I guess, two, but the most important thing is understand that you can ask questions, that you could submit questions. There'll be a form sent out to all the teams, and make sure you kind of check in and understand the rules. If you have any question about the rules, are not sure about something, the head ref can answer some of those questions.
Mm-hmm. This is really informative for me. I was like, oh my gosh, so many things I haven't learned before.
Right, and we know. Sorry, Arti.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's all new. It's all new to everybody, right? It's new to our volunteers. It's new to our teams. It's new to First Canada. But we're not going to shy away from anything new. We brought First Canada Live, right? That was new 2 years ago now. So this is going to be a great success too. I think the key is understanding the timeline And if you understand your emails and understand your timeline, I think you'll have a great experience in understanding what's happening when, and making sure that the students are aware and kept informed. I think that's key. So one last thing is, if you haven't checked your program updates, or if you haven't signed up for the first robotics competition newsletter, please do that. As a student, you can do that. As a mentor, you can do that, and you'll be able to see updates on what we're doing, as well as lead mentors should check their emails to make sure you get all the communications for any given event that you're attending.
Yeah, and check your spam folders, because sometimes they go there. Make sure it's like, if you're not seeing it, it's like you gotta find all of this, because there's a lot of information out there, and we want to get it to you as best we can. And we know that also teams, you are all super busy right now, and I'm sure it's going to be easy to I can't worry about emails right now, got to finish this robot. But if to finish that robot properly, you're going to need to check those emails, and to excel at competition, and to make all that stuff happen. And so for students out there,
you can do that during your break that you take.
Yes.
That's right. I think the other thing is also remembering what day you're playing on, because it's different, right? Before, you would come to Humber and you would just come and show up on a Friday night or a Saturday. But now it's important to know, are you playing Saturday? Are you playing Sunday? Because the students might be confused. You're going to Humber, but what day are you actually playing? I think it's really important to know and remember that, because I know I've got some questions saying, I can't remember what day I was signed up for. So I think it's important to know, go and check your schedule and see which day you've signed up, and then figure out your communications based on that.
Well, we talk a lot about the nitty gritty about what's happening at events, but Arti, I want to know, what are you most excited about?
Well, I'm excited to see robots and students and actually see people face to face. I think I'm just excited to see matches, and also figure out what teams have been doing all this, like 2 years. Like, we've seen them on First Canada Live, we've spoken to them, but now being able to see them, I think the one thing I'm afraid of is, will I be able to recognize everybody behind their mask? Because I really don't know how. I think I just hope I can recognize people behind their mask, because you're only going to see their eyes, right? So, but it'll be super exciting to just see people, and especially volunteers that we haven't seen for so long.
That energy and that spirit. And then Dave, for you, I got a question. Vanshika and I were talking a little earlier about like our stories of gracious professionalism. And as we get ready for events, we know we're going to be having so many new stories that we're going to be picking up. Is there one that stands out to you in your career through, doesn't have to be FRC, it can be FLL. I know that's where loads of your experience is from.
Yeah, no, actually I have a really good one from FRC, and you'll remember this one, Karthik. It was back in the day. This is a funny story, actually, because I was asked to referee at the provincial championships. And I was a little nervous, but I agreed to it. And so I had a front row seat to this experience, and it was the year of the triplets. And they were split up for the finals, right? There was two. I can't remember you'll remember which teams
1114 and 1503 were on one side, and 1680 was on the other side.
Yeah.
Hold on, Dave was the referee.
This is a long time ago.
No clue.
Long time ago. Yeah, Ian McKenzie was the head ref. Anyway, so I remember they were playing the finals, and Karthik, you could probably tell the story better than I could, but this is my remembrance of it. So they're playing the finals. Match one goes, and one side won. Match two goes, the other side wins. So they've got the tiebreaker. But at the end of match two, there was an issue with one of the robots, one of the triplets, I think. And so they took a timeout to fix the robot, and the other side that was competing against them came over and helped them fix their robot in order to play the rubber match, the game 3. And I can't remember who won, but the point is, like, to me, that's the epitome of gracious professionalism and cooperation, where you're competing. This is the finals of the provincials, the be all and end all. You've worked all season for this. This is what sets you off for world championships. And you're going to walk across the field and help the other team fix the robot. Like, it was unheard of for me. I was blown away.
Yeah, I think Karthik and I were like talking about this before, that like the best thing about First is just like, it's like a community. Like, everybody's just so selfless. And like, even though, like how you said, like, even though you work so hard on this, like, I feel like the reason we want to help each other is because we know how hard it is to build the robots. We know how much like time and effort we put into it. So when we see somebody else's robot not working, it's like, you internally just feel that pain almost, and you're like, oh my gosh, I just have to help them. It
is beautiful. You know what I'm looking forward to? It's just, we've had 2 years of story time on the show where we told old stories. I'm looking forward to new stories. I'm looking forward to, Vanshika's generation writing the new stories of First history that we'll be talking about for years and years into the future. So I'm really excited. Hey, Dave, Arti, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for your incredible leadership throughout this pandemic for the community and making this happen. There was a point where it seemed like, oh, maybe these events won't happen. And I think especially all of First Canada, but the leadership from the two of you has really allowed this to happen. And I think we're all just excited for what's going to be a different, but really, really fun season. Because you know what? We've had different seasons before. We always have, things are different. And that's part of First. That's part of the challenge. So really, really excited. This has been a great show, everyone. We're back next week. We've got FTC Inspire Award winner, Relatively Quantum, coming on the show, talking about their season. We've got the FLL East Champions Award winner coming on. We got a preview of the Humber event. We're going to talk about the teams and robots. Like, we're previewing an actual event. It's about time. And hey, we're going to show some more robot reveal videos. So it's going to be a blast. Everyone, check your event emails, and we will see you next week. Bye, everyone.